five. Five ways, good, I think. Hi! What a nice bunch of people. What a nice bunch of young people, which is good. I know what you're thinking. I came along for this and I've managed to dig out some middle-aged white guy from the university. I apologise, it's a great honour and privilege to be here. It's really nice to be back here for the revival. Literally, it's sort of a coincidence, isn't it? You're reviving Creative Mornings in the very month when Creative Mornings is talking about revival. But it's really nice to see Creative Mornings back, and on behalf of TMU, we're really pleased to have Creative Mornings back here. I'm very grateful that Ivan and Lee and the team, Nicola did a beautiful job with that opening introduction thing. So, I've got 20 minutes. It might be a bit less than 20 minutes. I'm going to at this point, I'm like, what was I going to say at the start? I was like, hello is the main thing, so I went this big head. Let's see what's going on. So, that nice painting, look, that's Marielle Guzman standing in front of her, which is annoying. But did a great job with me. No, I need to know someone went through them on that. So, I've got a website that's full of stuff. I wrote books, including that book. I just wanted to point to the fact that these things exist. The main thing is about, because I've been around for a really, really long time, like, Ivan's like, how can you write 10 books? I'm like, it's because I'm old. They all took 5 years.
Young at heart, good sir. Young at heart.
So anyway, so thank you for the nice introduction. So I do research at the university, obviously. But we like to foster practice-based research, by which we mean you're actually doing actual stuff, and not just like going to a library and reading about things. And it's, as far as I'm talking about creativity with you today, it's based on, I've done a lot of academic research because I've been around a long time, but it's also rooted in personal experience of actually trying to do actual creative things myself, because I think you shouldn't like write or research about things if you don't do those things, whatever they are. And for decades now, I've been always saying to students, well, you know, you're going to have to like do the thing. They're typically interested in the thing. I'm like, oh, it's good you're interested in the thing. Now you've got to do the thing. And they're like, oh, well, I'm just interested in the thing. But no, you've got to do the thing. Doing the thing is central to the thing. Otherwise you don't really understand it because you haven't done it. As you all know. So that's good. So, yeah, by way of introducing us to each other, I decided to go for what I both enjoy and is also humiliating, embarrassing, and I hate it, which I'm going to play some of my music. But I do have a new one that's out today. So look, I've released these things in 2022 was my first music release. And I started making music because I thought it might be different to what I'd done before, and I might not be that good at it, and so it would be an interesting journey into something that I didn't know was going to work out at all. Which is arguably just a painful and embarrassing thing to do for people who know you and who then forced to listen to the fruits of this labour. But there you go. That's what you get for turning up at 9 AM on Friday. So yeah, I wanted to do, well, I was used to writing and I could do visual things. And I always loved music. People everybody loves music, you know, that's not rare. But it just never occurred to me that like you could make music, especially these days. It's relatively easy, like you can edit it, like you edit anything inside your computer and put it together, and you know, that. But now I've been doing it for some amount of time, and people are being increasingly subjected to this music, and you know, I can only apologise. So that's my new one, which is called "I'm Glad You Stayed Around." It's 3.5 minutes long. Last night, when Ivan was emailing me going like, okay, now where's your slides? We need the slides. And I'm like, yeah, well, I'm Googling for pictures of clouds. He's like, okay. In fact, I was super nice about that, because he's like, if I don't understand what you're doing, that's good. That means it's going to be, you know, an interesting surprise. So, good. Full praise to Ivan, wherever he's gone. I like the fact he thought it probably would be all right that I was giving you pictures of clouds. And that's because Last night, my daughter's like, we've got to get no frills, we're making a smoothie. And I'm like, in fact, that was fine, because I thought it was fine at that point. Then I was driving to no frills, and I'm like, I'm going to do that thing, which I've done before, where I'm playing music to some people, and they're like, I don't know what to do with my face. Because, what do you, like, other forms of art, as you know, like somebody does like paintings, and they show you their painting. You're like, yeah, that's good. That takes about 5 seconds. So, who cares if you like it or not? You're like, fantastic. Music, it has this in common with film, but with film you've got something to look at. Music, it takes place across time, as you know, but you don't know what to do with your face. Well, somebody like me is like, are you in pain? Am I in pain? I'll look like I'm in pain. But anyway, okay, that's enough provocation. Also, like, it's about like perfectionism and details and things like. I'm now going to play it on these speakers, and then this morning I'm like, oh, these are rubbish little speakers. Why am I doing this? It's sounding better in the car. But I don't want to upset you with my anxiety, so let's see what happens. Right, here we go. So it's 3.5 minutes. Oh yeah, and I'm going to show you some pictures of clouds, because clouds are, like, I've got clouds on the sleeve, so it's irrelevant, but also, like, clouds aren't so interesting that it's going to distract too much, but also they're quite beautiful, so you might imagine some beautiful thoughts whilst looking at pictures of clouds. Okay, good. I'm going to press play. No.
Excellent.
Thank you. As you can see, I've got absolutely no stagecraft or anything like that. My latest thing was showing you pictures of clowns. I'm not sure what that is. So, you know, you've seen clowns before. Those are clowns. Okay. It's deliberately starting at a place of vulnerability because I'd like to be singing on it. I used to sing, and at first I thought, oh, it's good to have your voice in things, but then I basically just did like I spoke because I think, well, I can't say something. In this one, I believe, though you may not believe, that I've solved the problem that I've had for like about 3 years about putting vocals into a thing, because I'm sort of singing, I'm sort of talking, and it sings together somewhere in between. And by my standards, I think it works. By your standards, it might be like, why am I listening to this? I don't know what this is. One thing about music is that everybody's got completely different taste anyway, haven't they? So like, if you just like paint me your favourite song, I'm probably going to be like, okay. That's going to apply in this situation too. So. Anyway, there you go. So that was me trying to do a creative thing, being quite unconfident about the creative thing, as you can see. And then, in this talk, because I know you want me to talk about some actual thing, I took the theme of revival. I hadn't thought about the thing about revival, which Nicola was talking about, which was quite a lot about bringing back things from the past. I hadn't quite thought about that. I thought about revival as being just like, how can you revive your creativity, assuming it is in some way dormant or you're not very confident about it, which was, of course, also part of that too. So I thought, well, if you need a revival, then there must be something that's kind of holding you back. So I thought of 7 things that might be holding you back, that might not be. I'll just like think, and this is drawing on lots of experience doing research around creativity and just also my own thoughts about it as well. So, even time-wise, it's okay. The first one is the idea of creativity as an amount of juice. So this is things that might be holding you back. So the thing that might be holding you back is if you think that creativity is an amount of juice. And it's a common way, it's a really common way, I think, that people think about creativity. Maybe not so much you guys, because you're pretty clever when you think about creativity a lot. But even in like the academic literature about creativity, like a lot of it is psychologists trying to measure creativity, which links to the idea that creativity is this amount of juice. So, and we've all kind of got this idea, like you look at other people and go, oh wow, she's really creative, she's got a lot of creativity, I'm not that creative. You sort of think of it as being like a level of creativity. And the thing I've definitely concluded over all the long years of writing and thinking about creativity is it's just not that. It's not an amount of juice. You may think it's an amount of juice that you're born with and it's just some kind of inherent thing. You might think that over time people manage to develop a certain amount and it's an amount. It's just not an amount. And creativity is a thing that you do. So the more time you spend doing creative things, you'll get better at doing the creative things. Which completely makes sense, doesn't it? Because like, all things are like that. You know, if you give me a cricket bat and tell me to play cricket, I'm like, I don't play cricket and I'm going to be absolutely shit at cricket. But you would understand that, because I've not done cricket, so what do you expect? And creativity is the same. If you've not really tried to do the creative thing you want to do, you're not going to be that great at first. That's normal, that's fine, that's good. You know, you're starting out, it's not that great. You do more of it, you get better at it. It makes sense, doesn't it? But for that reason, creativity is not an amount of juice, and people are wrong to talk about it as a level, they're wrong to try to measure it in that way, because that's not how it works. It's just like, it's the thing you need to exercise those muscles, get better at creativity. You've all experienced that, of course. But I think it's kind of fundamental to how you even think about it and how you can sort of unlock your own potential in the future if you never think about it as being like an amount of ability or capacity that you've got. It's just a matter of doing the thing, which is what I mentioned before as well. It's about doing the thing. Number 2, the idea that perfection equals professionalism. In other words, this is the thing that comes from me doing music. Because when you're making music, for example, for me at least, a sort of baseline thing is I just don't want people to think I'm doing it wrong. Like, I don't want people to think like, he doesn't know what he's doing. So you need to meet a certain level of like, it fitting into the recognizable world of music that people make. But then that also causes a problem, because when you're starting out on any kind of creative journey, you think, wow, I'm going to be really like experimental, I'm going to do stuff that nobody's ever seen before. And then, e.g. with my music, if I did stuff that nobody had ever seen before, then I don't know if it would work, but like for me, I'll be like, this is embarrassing, they just think I can't do it. So I think it's a really fascinating line that you have to toe, and I haven't necessarily cracked this one yet. Certainly in making things, in all kinds of things, like visually and music and stuff, I start off thinking, oh, this is going to be like really wild and experimental, and I know that like things being a bit weird is actually good, it appeals to people, it's kind of intriguing, it's like, you know, something's not really like what you've seen before. That's a good thing to do, so I should definitely lean into that. And then it goes along, and you start to perfect it and polish it, and like you get really obsessed about tiny little details. You think, oh, I'm going to make this look even more perfect so that people can see that I know how to do the thing. And so you get further and further along into trying to be a great professional, and you get further away from the creative instinct that you started off with, which was going to make it exciting and good. I don't have an answer for that one. It's just a thing to try to bear in mind, because it's tricky, that one. And I think it actually relates to, oh, I said that bit already. Yeah, it relates to number 3 as well. Number 3 is about fitting in. The music version of this is like, if you make music, when at the minute there's like millions of people making music. Is it millions? It is millions. It's like, you know, Spotify is full of people that nobody listens to, not because they're no good, but just because there's so many of them. How could we possibly? And so the main problem is getting noticed. A really good way to get noticed in sort of the Spotify culture we now live in is to get on playlists. And to get onto playlists, that's like the main way that people try to promote themselves these days. Even if you don't listen to other people's playlists, a lot of people listen to music by listening to playlists. So you want to get on the playlist, and to get on the playlist, you have to be doing a recognizable thing. You have to be fitting into a kind of thing. And there's surprisingly, I mean, not all of them, but there's a surprising kind of conservatism, I suppose, within playlists, because they're like, well, you know, and you can, the services where you can submit stuff to playlists, you get feedback from people, and they typically say, this was great, I loved it, it's not like all the other tracks, so I can't include it. And I've done that for the artists on the label, I've got the label Unfolding Records, which has one other artist who's not me on it so far, Glacial Band, it's amazing. And in promoting his music, when people are always either like, this is a bit too noisy, we don't like it, or this is a bit too quiet, we don't like it. Because it's got some bits that are a bit noisy and some bits that are a bit quiet, and they want it to be one of those things, we can't be both of those things, but they're wild. So fitting in, also tricky. You need to fit in to be recognisable as a creative, and also you know that it's really important for your creativity to not fit in too much. That's just a bit different and interesting. Towing that path, I think, is an interesting one, but it's probably the act of towing that path that makes our work interesting. So that's okay. I've got 4, 5, 6, and 7. This surprisingly, I'm not big on math. This is number 4. There's 7 things. You think that means I've got 3 points left to go? No, I've got 4 points left to go. 4, 5, 6, and 7. I'm pleased to be able to introduce you to the world of numbers today. You've probably counted numbers before, but I've got amazing revelations like 3 and 4 with the same number somewhere. Who knows? This one is, so I could wang on about all these points forever, but Ivan's already told me about like 4 minutes, that's one. Obviously, collaborating with people is great. You may have experience of some great collaboration. But there's the thing where sometimes, especially people doing talks about creativity, they make it like collaboration is the number one thing. It's like, if you can do some collaboration, then everything's going to be fine. And, you know, maybe we like collaboration sometimes when it works. But like all these people kind of, if these people are collaborating in a thing, if none of them has actually got anything interesting to contribute, it's just like people wondering about, it's not a thing. If each one of those people has got a bunch of interesting ideas that they've in some ways individually cultivated in their minds, well then you can have an exciting party and that's good. But that means that individual creativity is actually a thing that we really, really need to nurture, because being in a team is good, but if you're in a team and you've got nothing to say, then it's not so exciting. So often at TMU, when we're working with students, a lot of stuff comes down to like groups and collaborations, that's good. But also it's really important to just focus on nurturing your own individual creativity just by absorbing interesting things done by others and making connections, you know. So I'll move on, because it'll be handy to move on. This one, the idea that you need to feel confident before you do the thing, I don't know if you can relate to this one, I certainly have this one, like, you know, do I have to get to be like the best ever person at music before I play some of my music? Probably not, especially because it won't help if I keep it hidden away forever, because you might want that, but it's part of the process that you need to expose yourself to doing the thing to get better at the thing. And the thing that maybe we often have, I used to have this, is like you always kind of think, well, I need to get better at the thing before I reveal that I'm doing the thing, or before I talk about the thing, or before I'm going to feel confident about the thing. So you think, I'm not going to be confident about the thing till like later. But later doesn't come unless you doing things. You have to do the thing. So the idea that you need to feel confident before you do the thing is that you will only feel confident through doing the thing. It's by making yourself do the thing, you'll feel more confident about it, and everything gets better. So again, it's about doing the thing, even when it's hard, even when it feels embarrassing. I think people, like in this conversation, I'm kind of trusting that you find it slightly nice that I'm so embarrassed about my music, like that vulnerability helps in some ways, doesn't it? As opposed to if I just said, this is fantastic, you're going to enjoy it, and you're like, we'll get the judge of that, thank you. Skip one. I have to mention AI is in my contract these days. For the kind of angle on creativity that I have, then the whole conversation about AI is fine, because creativity is about the personal flourishing and growth and connections and developing your sensitivity and developing your vulnerability and all of that inside of yourself. And the fact that somewhere over here there's a computer that's also churning out music that's maybe better than your music, or also churning out posters that are better than your posters or whatever, makes absolutely no difference to that. So if the important thing is about personal growth and connection and community, like what CreativeMornings is all about, then you could have, we could be surrounded by computers churning out creative works. That's fine. Sometimes it's helpful, it speeds things up, all of that. But if your main interest in creativity is in the kind of growth and personal nourishment it gives you, then anything about AI is just relevant, because it can do that. It might be good, it might be bad, who cares? The important thing is you doing the creative thing. And there's always a scope for that, there's always a need for that. Some researchers talking about AI are like, oh, it's not going to make any difference because for some reason that they've made it does make a difference, obviously. But if the most important thing for all of us in creativity is the kind of personal growth and nourishment that it gives us, and then we try to include that into our work, we try to work with technology and stuff. The personal thing of creativity will always survive, because computers literally don't challenge that, because it's not happening inside a person, so it doesn't make a difference. Last one. And this is very brief, because the idea that it probably won't lead to anything may be holding you back. E.g., you think of an idea, you think, it probably won't work, it might be embarrassing, it won't lead to anything. I think, due to being old, I can tell you that that's almost always wrong. Something always leads to something, and even when it's a thing where stuff seems to have gone wrong, even when it's stuff that seems to have gone surprisingly well, not the way you thought, whatever happens, whatever you try out, something always leads to something. And it's normally something interesting and surprising. You can make the most of stuff. So, keep going. Thank you.